Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Digital Juice Bar, where we have no idea to make an intro, so let's just get started with this, all right?
All right,
Cool.
let's introduce ourselves.
All right. My name's Hood Lee. I take a very long time to make poor quality videos about random things I like talking about.
And then I'm KnightmareAlpha, and I take incredibly long times of doing exactly nothing because I'm a lazy bum.
Yeah, that should work.
That's a massive indictment, but you know we're honest here, so
Yeah.
okay. So what are the topics today?
All right. Well, first things first, we're going to talk about things we've been doing lately. Not that way, but just in like the general hobby stuff, like manga or books we've been reading, movies, TV shows we've been watching. Just, what have we been doing lately to entertain ourselves? What have you been doing?
It's a lot of political YouTube lately. I don't want to bog you down with the details, but it's a lot of that. And the fact is that even if it's a podcast, talking about this sometimes has problems because staying relevant and with the times is a problem. And I don't necessarily want to date this with admire it down with political nonsense. So that's one of the things I have been dealing with. But mostly, I'm actually trying to prepare myself for a more long form video series that I want to do in a while. Re-examining something I have a relationship to, so to speak. I'm not sure if people know that, but I have a relationship to High School DxD in a very specific manner.
Giggity.
Yeah, not that kind of relationship actually. It started off after a podcast recording with one of my friends, Daniel, and we started to sit down and watch the first season. And I also had made a little bit of a stupid thing of myself because I always research things. I realized that I always assumed that this series was spawned from a manga. But that's not the case. It was spawned from a light novel. And I was like, okay, what's the light novel like? And I decided to look it up. And oh boy, there's a reason this was never actually picked up by a publisher in any official capacity. There are
Is
only
it
fan
basically
translations.
like,
There are only fan translations around, and they are not very good. But the material also isn't very good. The anime cuts out a lot of the superfluous nonsense that is actually going on there. Issei is actually a quite more pathetic character in the light novel than he is in the anime series. And for the first season, that says a lot.
I mean, that's certainly different than a lot of like modern light novels where the main character is basically, Superman, Japanese Jesus, and just does whatever.
But but this first start set me off in a very bad position. And watching the anime was actually kind of enlightening because I felt the anime definitely did things way better. And I think the first season actually ends on a pretty good high note. And they ride that high note basically to the midpoint of season 2 and a little bit further, but not much. And then everything came crashing down. But in watching all of that, I kind of gained in the long run an appreciation for the show in a quite a different way, because I feel it's kind of ambitious. It wants to go somewhere, like this specific kind of thing. If you actually look at High School DxD, it kind of wants to go with a progression of a classic shonen manga to a degree, and it just falls flat because of the edgy elements sometimes. But I admire the idea that the author wants to go with it somewhere and tries to do something with it, even if he is kind of a bit failing with it sometimes. And so I find this admirable. And so I went back and I want to at least look at the 4th season that has been dropped last year, I think, and I wanna re-examine it, and I wanna showcase this, and in the hopes of getting a little bit more appreciation, because I have an admiration. It's not a good show by any means, but I have a certain kind of.
I mean, I've heard it's good.
I mean,
at least in like the spectrum of, like harem, fantasy, action, ecchi, shonen things.
I mean, I would call it medium in that degree. There are some far better shows out there
Is
that
it better
either
than
have
Sekirei?
yes,
Hmm.
but Sekirei is also not really the high point of the genre. I mean, when we're talking about the high point of the genre, we usually talk about the first season. The first season of the Testament of Sister New Devil is really good for that part. I think that's one of the high points of the genre that it reached.
Okay,
And
before we go any further, I just want to say the series we're talking about right now. Do not look them up if you are under, I don't know, 16.
yeah, that's important. I mean,
Yeah, so just disclaimer right there.
we have to do that because these shows are fairly. I would say let the safe search on these cases because there is a good reason this is especially the Testament of Sister New Devil's first OVA that goes into basically softcore porn territory.
I mean, it sounds like they at least had a better run than Makin Ki, which had a pretty decent first season, and then the second was just like, oh, just what happened? And then the OVAs were supposed to be like exercise videos where they didn't even bother animating their mouths moving.
Yeah,
And it was
that
so awkward.
That didn't happen here. The second season is a little bit weaker than the first, but that's mostly my assessment because it goes into by the end it goes into fairly fan fiction territory, and I feel that the actual eroticism of a show takes a little bit of a too high focus, and I think like that is not needed. The action is good, the characters are still good. It gets a little bit fanficky at the end, but okay.
All right. So that's what you've been interested in lately? High School DxD?
Yeah, kind of a bit.
I
mean, it could be worse, I think.
I actually started reading a series somewhat, I guess, kind of sometime last year called Dragons Rising or Dragons Rioting. I think it's like I think it's like 9 volumes long. It's published by Kadokawa over here. It is bad. Like,
really,
dude, it's terrible. It is not very good at all. It is just it's like but you know it's weirdly enjoyable in that kind of way. It's not like so bad it's good. It's more like it's hilarious in how stupid it is, and the attack names are like those really stupid cliche martial arts moves. It's just like they have really long names. Everyone has some kind of title. It's ridiculous.
okay.
And it's kind of enjoyable.
I mean, I'm always up for something like that where I'm laughing my ass off, so
it's funny.
Well, I'm keeping that. Dragons riding sounds dirty.
Well, dragons rioting.
Rioting, okay. That's also sounding pretty dirty, but
I'd recommend looking that up if you don't have very high standards and you want to see something just fall so far below them that it's kind of hilarious. Like the manga can't even draw fights very well.
Sounds like this could be part of a dramatic reading series one day.
It's I don't know. Maybe check it out. But if you're watching this and you are not at least 16, don't do that. He can.
We all can. It's just maybe we shouldn't.
Yeah. If you do want something fan servicey though, that's actually quality, I do recommend Eyes.
Eyes
and Strawberry 100%.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Quality jerk off material isn't so hard to find, I think. But
I mean, if you just want that, you can just look up hentai.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I think it's always better to attach a plot to it. It's like I might be old fashioned, but I think that a porno needs to have a plot. It's stupid. It doesn't need to be a great plot, but I think there needs to be at least a baseline connection to these characters. You know, just some baseline characterization. You know, I need to know what's going on here. You know, she's the MILF, he's the postman, and he has a special delivery. So that
I feel
kind
like
of thing.
we should stop talking about this before it gets further.
I don't know. I think I just won a writing prize for storytelling in pornography.
Uh,
You can call me a future Woody Award winner for writing in porn.
yeah, okay. I don't know what those are, and I kind of don't want to know.
It's actually a joke. There is no such thing as a Woody.
I mean, there is in Toy Story.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, oh god, now I have to think of a gold-plated Woody getting at a porn convention.
All right,
Please don't.
just no.
Okay, I
So
think we should move
that's
on.
what you've been doing. That's what you've been doing lately.
Yeah.
So okay, I guess it's my turn now.
I mean, you talked about that manga.
Well, yeah, it was more like I was talking about something that I
Oh,
was, it was related to the thing you're
yeah.
doing.
Okay.
I haven't really, it wasn't really like the thing I've been focusing on lately. It was just something related that I thought was
Okay.
neat to talk about.
Well,
But,
go on.
Well, the actual thing I've been reading lately, I actually accomplished something that I've been wanting to do since I was a kid, and I finally finished reading the shoujo manga series, The Gentleman's Alliance Cross.
Okay.
It was not worth waiting 10 years to actually finish, but you know what? I still finished it.
I mean, that's
Okay,
like
so it actually does have a story behind it. Just like I kind of want to talk about it, just because I don't know.
sure. Go on. I mean,
When I was when I was in elementary school, we had scholastic book fairs. Those were always really fun. And I want to say when I was in the 5th grade, because I remember I would take what I bought from like class to class, so it was in the 5th grade. And I found the September of 2009 issue of Monthly Shonen Jump when they actually used to print them physically over here. And close to the front of the magazine, there was a 2-page ad for 2 different manga series. One of them was Nora, not Nura, Rise of the Yokai Clan, but Nora, The Chronicle of Devildom.
okay.
And on the other side, Nora was basically like, I actually did end up getting that. I don't remember exactly when, but I did read that and start collecting that. And that was actually the second manga series I ever actually finished collecting at 9 volumes. And it was also my first mature manga series. I think I got it when I was like 11 or 12 or something like that. But yeah, that was on one side. And it did get a sequel called Sherbrek, but I can't find it for the life of me. And on the other side was the Gentleman's Alliance Cross, which had the girliest freaking drawing I had ever seen. It was just 3 girls, well, technically 2 girls, and one guy that looked like a girl. And it was just like super glittery and pretty and detailed. And I still have the magazine, but it was basically the exact opposite of what was on the other side of the page. And I looked at it and I thought, that looks really interesting to read. I wonder what happens in it. And I didn't actually get it until last year when I got the first like 6 volumes. Because it's like I found them for sale at a bookstore, so I just picked them up when I found them. They're in great condition. And then I picked up the last 5 volumes at a sale recently, and then I had to return volume 6 because I accidentally bought it again. I couldn't remember how many volumes I had, and I only just finished it recently. I collected all the volumes, and I finished all 11 volumes, and dude, it is freaking cheesy.
I mean, that's what I expect from these kind of.
I know, but it's like, I mean, it's kind of what I expect from Arina Tanemura, who's actually one of my favorite shoujo mangaka. I really like her art style. I'm trying to kind of draw like she does. Not exactly, because it's a little too giant eyeball for my taste, but you know what? It still looks really pretty. It still looks really detailed. So I wanted to read it for the art style. And the weird thing is, between the time I saw that ad and the time I actually got the books, I actually got all 7 volumes of Full Moon wo Sagashite, which was the series she did right before that, and the first 2 volumes of Sakura Hime, The Legend of Princess Sakura, which was the series she did right after that. And then I got the Gentleman's Alliance Cross. And the ironic thing about it, something weird about it, is that it is actually rated for older teens.
Okay.
Which is weird because in Japan, it was originally serialized in the magazine Ribbon.
Yeah.
Which was, I think it's Shueisha. I think
Could
it's probably
be.
Shueisha. It was one of their shoujo manga magazines that was aimed at like girls age, I want to say like 7 to 13 or something like that. So it was serialized in a manga magazine aimed at young girls. But for some reason, when it was brought over here, it was rated for older teen, which I'm assuming is like 17.
Hmm.
And I'm assuming that's because there's like there's like a gay couple in it, but I'm just like that. If that's the main reason, I'm just like, what the heck? That's it. Like, it's just weird because that's actually the same rating as Nora, the Last Chronicle of Devildom. But other than that, it's like there's nothing really about it that sets it apart from like other shoujo manga. It's really, again, it's like really cheesy and to the point where like in the latter half or something, it gets very soap opera. The main premise is that there's this girl named Haine. Haine. I think it's pronounced Haine, and she's just like, she used to be a delinquent, but then she met this one guy who basically inspired her to, be a better person, and then she got accepted into a really prestigious high school because, of course, it has to do everything important in your life happens in high school in Japan, apparently. And it's basically just a romance series about, really rich families and twins, and it's just
Oh God.
one of the gay guys is a crossdresser who looks like a girl, and everyone's just like, that's like the only aspect of his personality. Like every time he's there, they have to bring up that he's either actually a guy or that he is gay, and it's just like, okay, I get it. That's his personality. You can stop now.
Wow. That sounds really that sounds really unremarkable considering that the offer came from Full Moon that actually is kind of
Full Moon is actually pretty good.
And a bit infamous for its plot. I mean, you don't get cancer children trying to be pop stars every day of a week.
Oh, there is cancer. Like, I'm just going to say this right now. And like volume 10, it's either volume 9 or 10. I'm thinking it's 10. It could be 9.
There's
I don't
cancer.
remember.
Is this,
but like,
does this offer a little bit of a focus problem?
I don't know. I mean, because if they actually do have something to do with cancer in like Sakura Hime, I would be surprised because it takes place during the Heian period, and I'm just like, that would be weird. I don't think it'll happen, but I think it's just more of a coincidence.
I don't know. Maybe at one point this sounds like a real soap opera thing, like when in season 6 you suddenly have these super rich people where everything is right, and you're going to marry Armando, who is absolutely fabulous, and suddenly the doctor is like, I have to inform you, you have cancer. And you're pregnant with a child of your brother.
Okay. Actually, they don't go that far.
Actually, this would be too much. The audience would probably just be on the ground suffocating at that point.
But it's like they're writing later on, like in the series. It gets to the point where they're trying to take things seriously, but it's things like that people make fun about soap operas for. Like the main character. One of the whole things is that the main love interest is actually the older twin brother of the guy who actually she met, and actually tried to inspire her to, clean up her act and stuff like that. It's like 11 volumes, but it's like, I'm not going to get into everything super detailed. The main point is that the main character's love interest twin brother has cancer.
That sounds really soap opera.
It is. And so it's just like, that's like the main thing I just remember. I take away from the end. The main love interest twin brother has cancer.
But I love all this shit. That's
I
the
knew.
that's the amazing part. That's the reason people actually like soap operas, because it gets so escalating into this insanity that we
It's
usually
so
would never
cheesy.
experience. I love that.
It's so cheesy. And you know what? I'm not sure if I would have liked it when I was little. I probably wouldn't have been able to get it because there's that pink Shoujo Beat logo. I should try and find some of the printed volumes of Shoujo Beat just to see what they were like. But I probably wouldn't have been able to get it anyway. I don't know because I didn't have any money, but whatever. And I'm not sure if I would have liked it when I was little, but it's not bad. It's cheesy, and some of the characters just aren't very interesting at all. But after, and I'm just gonna say this right now. The main character's mom. They do actually pull off that whole thing where like you thought someone was your parent, but then like another person turned out to be your real parent. It's just they actually try and pull that. It's stupid.
Is it just to evade incest, or is it just to imply incest?
I mean, I'm not sure if this technically counts as that, but like, okay, it's a weird thing. But like, Heine was. I'm not going to explain everything. If
No,
you
no, no.
actually do
It's
want
okay.
to
It's
read it,
just
if you actually do want to read
it's
it, I love it.
complicated, you know.
There actually is a couple, but like they aren't.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just that I'm trying to think of how it actually works in my head, but it's just like I don't know how it works.
Just
But
don't.
technically speaking, that doesn't happen. Like just like
Okay.
that doesn't actually happen. I just thought like, wait, no, it is fine. But like it's just like it's super cheesy, and I spent so many years just waiting to read it because it's just like I'm not gonna look it up online because scanlations tend to be pretty poor quality, and I just really want to admire that art. Uh, it it's not bad. It's really corny. It is the kind of thing she is known for, and
I mean, that and the large
you could
eyes,
read
you
it.
know.
Yeah, they have massive eyes.
It's like
It's pretty, but it's just like, what is the shape of their skulls? I have to know.
that's a very rare breed of humans. I'm not sure this is like you know. And you ask yourself, is that result of consistent incest? You know, when the family tree starts to wrap around itself. You know.
I mean, this isn't written by the same guy as Oremo, so probably not.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
I actually do like Tanamura's art style. I really like her. I like her art and I liked her stories, but it's just like, man, the writing is corny. I don't mind it so much. It's just something to note if you're going to go into her work.
I mean, as long as we don't reach the levels of X, everything is fine.
Of X?
X, a series from
the X manga.
Yeah, that thing.
Oh yeah, I haven't read that.
It's not great. It's just concentrated teenage angst with pretty boys. I mean, I can take the pretty boys, but the consistent teenage angst is just.
Well,
yeah.
anyway, so that's the main thing that I wanted to talk about that I read recently. Other than that, I read the first volume of Ao Haru Ride, and it's actually pretty good. It's actually really, really good so far. It's just the first volume, but I want to go back and get like the second volume and maybe some of those chocolate rocks they had at the checkout. Just because it's been a while since I've had them, and I want to read the second volume because the first volume's really good. And other than that, I found this one manga called "Oh My Sweet Alien," and it was adorable. It was basically just this guy is married to an alien, and it was just about like their life as a married couple trying to keep her, alienness a secret and stuff like that. It was cute. It was
so basically, what would happen if I marry Alf?
No, she's humanoid. She just has really big eyes, really big, pretty eyes, and tendrils for hair, and like some weird scaly skin. But like, I'd recommend reading it. It's pretty cute. It is rated M for some reason, but the main reason is just because you can see tits. So like
Yeah,
that was the main reason. It's pretty good. I
I don't
thought it was
mind.
enjoyable.
I don't mind weird American ratings. So
Yeah, but anyway, that's what we've been up to lately. Um you've been looking into High School DxD, and I've been looking into the exact opposite of High School DxD.
I don't know. I mean, High School DxD can be pretty cheesy too, but more in the
No, I
in the
just meant
cheesecake variety.
I just meant like demographic and intention wise, because it's like
Oh,
you've
okay,
been
yeah,
reading
okay.
a fantasy harem ecchi manga, and I've been reading a really corny romance series. It's just like,
The official genre term defined by the author is battle harem fantasy. I have to always remind people of that.
all right, good to know. Now I know what category to sort series like Sekirei and um the Testament of Sister New Devil in. So thank you for that. All right, so now we can actually move on to the topics. And the first
Yay!
one we're going to talk about today is flawed games we love. This is it's kind of relevant. What with Days Gone, the main thing I want to talk about is just like games that you realize aren't really all that good. They do have obvious problems, and there are things that are just like really bad about it, but you still find enough about it that you admire it, you enjoy it, and you just really, really like it. So that's basically what we're going to talk about.
Yeah,
So one of those big games. Mind if I go first?
sure, go on.
All right. Well, the biggest flawed game that I really love. I actually do kind of want to make a video on this sometime. Probably going to take a while, but whatever. One game that I really, really think this fits into is, or fits into this kind of thing, is Nier.
Mm-hmm.
Like the original Nier, not Nier Automata, which is awesome, and you should play it if you are at least 16, because it's an M-rated game. Anyway, but the original game, it is sticky.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, it's just like Yoko Taro, he writes a really great story. It's really weird, but the characters are really, really interesting. The world is really fascinating. I like the art direction and the art style in general. I just like the design of everything. I like the aesthetic. I like the story, and I love ending D, which I kind of want to say what happens because, it's like a 9-year-old game, and I'm sure no one would mind if I spoiled what happens in ending D, but
to be honest, we already have this stupid discussion out there about spoilers of 20-year-old games with Final Fantasy.
I mean, yeah,
VII
but that's
remake.
like a really famous game. It's just like everyone knows what happened in Final Fantasy VII, even if you haven't played it. It's just cultural osmosis. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
Nier is a cult video game from 2011 or something. I actually found it in like perfect condition, so that was awesome.
I mean, we could also relate, like kind of a video. I mean, there have been some videos on the topic, I know that Clems made a very long video about that, also going into all of the details of the ending. So I think we could relate to that and just leave a link. I think that would be a bit better than just explaining the plot here, so everybody would be interesting could go there and look that up.
I would talk about Nier. We're talking about Final Fantasy VII.
But Nier, Final Fantasy VII can be looked up everywhere, I think,
Yeah. You could probably play it on a toaster or a toilet or something. You could technically play it on the toilet.
I mean, now it's on so many things. I mean, it has been re-released on so many different platforms, and like you could play it on the PSP if you have like the PSN version of it. So yeah, you could play it on the toilet. You could play it in the bathroom. You can play it wherever you want to go with it.
You can play it here, there, and everywhere.
The magic of mobile.
All right, so but yeah, Nier, it is not really that good of a game. The story is great. The characters are great. The art style is great. The music is very somber and kind of depressing at sometimes, but it is beautiful, and it's a great soundtrack. The whole thing I'm trying to say is that I love how it toys with, visually and presentation wise, it is very, very nice. And I love how the story itself plays with the very aspects of video games and like how it messes around. And if you ever get ending D, that's just crazy. But if you do get that, you will see probably one of the best examples, at least in my mind, of ludonarrative synchronicity, which is where the thing that happens in the game and story just kind of intersect and like they work together perfectly well. And I really love it. But the thing is, as a game, it's sticky. It's basically like a sticky, watered down Legend of Zelda with, an actual protagonist that has a personality. Like the combat isn't very good. It's clunky. It's serviceable. The gameplay is serviceable, but everything else is just so good. It's a shame that the gameplay just falls flat. I know the team at Cavia tried their best, but man, their best just wasn't good enough.
And it's also one of the problems that Yoko Taro at that point already had not that great of a track record with a Dragon Guard series that also had
had nice stories.
Yeah, it had nice stories, but gameplay-wise, it was very simplistic and
Yoko Taro was like the best person working there.
I have to say, he's a fairly interesting person, and I just love him. He's like he's one of these cuddly persons you just want to share a bathtub with.
And he admitted to just having the 3D modelers make 2B's butt perfect because he wanted it.
I mean, why not?
That's something I can respect. Like, yes, we have a sexy robot lady.
I mean, Michelangelo created the statue of David, and it's also perfectly sculpted and has an amazing butt. So there is a precedent for that this is considered to be art. So a perfectly shaped butt is art.
I actually found a funny tweet that said something like 2B's butt has more polygons than any full body render of Mario to date. I mean, which I just love.
They also said something similar about the butt of Alex from Half-Life 2. So
that's definitely interesting.
Yeah, that was just a joke.
2B's hotter.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure.
And she actually had a conclusion.
Yeah, that's true. But it's also a conclusion that is complicated, to say the least.
I mean, Nier is pretty complicated in general.
I know, the multi-layer storytelling makes it really hard to follow for the people who are not really interested in it. For those who just wanted to have a platinum action game, they probably didn't get what they wanted out of it.
I mean, they probably did. It's just that the story was also there. There's just like, it probably isn't Platinum's like top tier, absolutely perfect thing like Bayonetta or something, but it's still really, 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 really good.
Again, so I don't have any kind of complaints about it. It's just that it needs a very high level of engagement to be fully enjoyed.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the things I love about Nier is because you kind of need to be engaged with the story to get enjoyment out of it, because otherwise it's just kind of, it's all right. It's not really great, but it's, it's there, it's functional. Yeah. And the main thing that makes me love it is the story and the characters and all that stuff that I keep saying over and over again, like a parrot with short-term memory. So yeah, that's basically. So I've played it quite a bit. I played it quite a few times, and I love it. I keep going back to play it just because I really love it. And yeah, it does have problems. And if someone said that they didn't like it, I would totally understand why. But I can just I kind of like it more because it isn't very amazing. I don't know. It's something interesting. I think that okay games or games that have, both good and bad mixed together can be enjoyable in their own way and have their own little place in someone's collection.
Yeah, I think that's good. I mean, my example is a bit more, how shall I say, shoddy, so to speak. It's a bit weird to explain.
I mean, go ahead. I'm pretty much done with mine, so you can go ahead.
Okay, when I talk about games, of flawed games, I love it's more a love-hate relationship at this point with what I'm talking about. See, I'm into grand strategy games, mostly these of Paradox Entertainment. They produce this. They have a set of games that are based on one specific engine, the Clausewitz engine that contains. Let me think. Contains Hearts of Iron 4, Victoria 2, Europa Universalis 4, Crusader Kings 2, and I think I'm forgetting something. Yeah, Stellaris. And I have played basically all of these games for a very long time, and they are complicated with all kinds of different approaches of what you can do with them. And a lot of people would probably find them to be very boring, very complicated, and very punishing. I enjoy them to a degree. At least, well, I at least enjoy Hearts of Iron 4 because that's one of the most competently games done with that. With the others, I have lesser experience, so it's a bit of a complicated issue. But my biggest issue is really the engine it's running on, and what kind of a monstrosity it is. It's weird because if you look it up, it says it has relatively low requirements. Don't ever let you fool by this. I have run this on multiple PCs, and let me tell you, it crashes. It crashes a lot. It corrupts save games. It does all kinds of crazy shit with you. It's harsh, and it takes hours, like real long hours to play this. And the worse your system is, the slower the game will run. And
I mean, I've never really played a 4X strategy game. I have Civ 5 because I got it really cheap. I haven't gotten very much into it, and the things I've seen some people do in 4X strategy games, it does seem like something that you would love. But I don't know. It's just I don't really have a lot of experience.
We're not talking actually about 4X strategy games. We're talking about grand strategy games. There's a big difference about that. Because grand strategy games work not on a turn-by-turn basis. They work in real time. And they are very focused. They're very focused on minute details and minuscule elements, like shaping economies and very specific detailed versions and having political systems to interact with. It's a complicated mess, to say the least, like, if you don't know.
Europa Universalis.
Yes. Yeah, I listed that, you know?
Oh.
Yeah, but that's right, basically
you just listed so many. I was trying to.
So it's okay. But that's basically, and I have my problems with that because I would like to have this game not crash on me, but I also would like to, the allies not pissing me off all the time. So that's just one of the problems. I still love this game and what that the community does with it and the alternate history and all of that stuff. It's really interesting to do all of these things, but it just sucks when you try to annex the Soviet Union and the game breaks.
Yeah, I bet that's a real pain.
It is, and the reloading and all of that. And it's also
yours. So yours is more like it's a great game that's just technically flawed, rather than when I said, where it's designed not very well, but it has enough things in it that make me love it.
Yeah, but the problem with that is also that this engine doesn't work very well, and Paradox has so much money poured into it, and they haven't overhauled this thing for more efficiency. And that's really what pisses me off about it, because I know it can be great, but it just doesn't want to be because it's more financially viable to throw like a shit ton of DLC at you. And it's like, wow, this base game has basically no functionality.
That sounds like Telltale.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. They recently released Imperator Rome, a game that plays with the Roman Empire time of the world, and that's actually a really interesting time frame. But the game is boring as shit, and that's kind of a terrible indictment of a game. You have one of the most interesting phases of human exploration and discovery and interactions with political systems. And it's just boring as hell. There, the only remarkable thing is that one of the nations is called Boy.
Boy.
boy. And
Boy.
that's kind of sad. And we know that, you know, six months down the line, the first $20 DLC will be released, and that's
They make DLC for $20 for those games.
yeah. They started off with $5 or $10, but nowadays they're like $22.
I mean, that sounds more like an expansion pack.
I mean, yes, but it's so limited. I mean, the latest installment of the latest update for Hearts of Iron 4 was Man the Guns. I think in August last year, and it featured an overhaul of the naval battle system, but it also featured something that I would have just thrown into a patch. For years, people complained about the "don't get on the boats" button. There was no "don't get on the boats" button. Units would just go over the ocean in convoys and would be decimated by the enemy navy just because they wouldn't go on the boats and wouldn't take the more logical route over the land. Then there are fucking battleships around.
You need a button for that?
Yes, apparently you needed a button for that, and nobody wanted to provide the button until this goddamn DLC came out.
Why would they not give a button? Like, it's a button to just be like, hey, don't do that stupid thing. Do the smart thing that the player is probably wanting you to do.
Yeah, welcome to Paradox Entertainment. Where we are more interested in minute details than actual functionality sometimes.
Like Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, but Ubisoft at least has fixed their engine and doesn't present buggy messes anymore.
I mean, I wouldn't know. I haven't played most of their games.
I mean, the latest 2 Assassin's Creed games worked fine. There were no major bugs. Everything worked fine. You know, no Assassin's Creed Unity bullshit.
Yeah, I remember seeing a clip in, I think, Origins, where it was just like a boat was glitching, and it was just, what was it? It was like, it was vertically glitching up through the air, and it was just slowing everything down to a crawl, and then it just flew up into the sky, like, woo!
I mean, that seems like a fairly rare thing. I mean, most people I've seen.
I mean, I think it would make the game more entertaining if stuff like that happened.
I mean, yeah, in some cases it is, but there's a hard limit on how much you can take it and how long you can take it. I mean, we don't want to reach like Bethesda levels of bugs.
Yeah, that's not. Still, I wonder how long it would actually take them to just make a button to like designate certain. Is it just like a button that designates certain units to not go in the water?
It's actually kind of complicated because it's not even an obvious button. You have to go into the army configuration menu and set it on that they don't use convoys in dangerous situations. You can also forbid them to completely ignore convoys and only take the land route. If you think like, you know, marching from Europe to China is a good thing, you know, like if you want to do that. But in general, it's actually kind of hidden, and I rarely use it because I prefer land wars anyway, so.
That's incredibly inconvenient.
Yeah, but these complicated games have these kind of problems. You know, it's more important like to know what kind of how to upgrade the economy anyway. So yeah, they are not really focused on that, and that's kind of a shame. And I think that's what holds them back into the genre sometimes. And the problem is they are the only providers of that. So yeah, they're kind of stuck there. At least I can get some funny mods like there's some funny anime mods for that, you know. It's kind of funny playing World War II with anime characters.
Okay, that's basically Hetalia.
I mean, yes, just with more waifus and, you know,
hey, Hetalia
less likable people.
Hetalia has waifus. Very few, but they still have waifus.
Yeah.
Like Hungary and Belarus. Except she's crazy.
Yeah, but there you don't have anime Joseph Stalin purging the army, you know, like funny war crimes.
I want to play the game just for that.
We arranged something for that you can try.
That sounds hilarious.
I mean, that's not a problem. I think it's a funny game.
Still, it sounds like it would be a lot easier to just like what's the thing I'm looking. Like if they had a menu or something, like if you could just right click a unit and pull up a menu just for that unit to designate its behavior individually, would that be more convenient?
And not really, considering the amount of units you have to manage.
Well,
Hundreds of them, so.
I don't play grand strategy, so I wouldn't really know. That was just like a thing that I thought might.
I mean,
be useful.
I can go crazy on this thing out of other things, you know, like the division limits. Like you can only attach so many units to one commander, and especially if you have a small screen, by the end you have like half of the screen taken up by commanders of specific armies, just so you can set them all up. There's a good reason why I think the no division limits mod is a necessity. But you know, that's the price you pay for realistic historical accuracy.
They're the only ones doing stuff like that, so you know you just got to put up with it.
I mean, yeah, kind of in that specific way, and it's kind of weird because there's a limited amount. I can't play them all the time. I play them like once a week, and then I'm just done with it and move on.
Sounds neat.
I mean, again, that's the problem with it. They have a great sense of humor sometimes. And sometimes they don't.
Do they like intentionally put them in, or is it just some weird things that happen that are kind of...
They intentionally put things in, like for some reason they make a lot of jokes about New Zealand.
Are they from New Zealand?
No, they're actually from Sweden. It's like they're
Why? Why New Zealand?
I mean, partially because it's historically accurate. I mean, New Zealand produced one of the most terrible tanks in world history, the Bob Sample tank. And apparently this was so hilarious to them that they thought, like, we make New Zealand a butt of a joke.
Well, I mean, that does sound like it's funny for history nuts.
I mean, it is. They also created their own version of a heavy tank variant from that, called the Big Bob. It's like, But yeah. Also, the German versions of these games are always different because, you know, we can't show some personalities from World War II in a specific detailed manner.
Yeah, I can imagine. I guess it's kind of a weird thing when you're making historically focused games and then release them to other parts of the world.
And sometimes it's a problem. I mean, I can live with the fact that, you know, some portraits are just blanked out.
That's weird censorship. Hey, was Persona 2 Eternal Punishment ever released over there?
Yeah.
That's weird.
But it was released only in the PvP version that they had shady Hitler with the shades.
Yeah, they had Führer.
Yeah. I mean, we all know what they meant with it. He looks very clear, but I don't know. For some reason, he looks better with the shades.
Yeah, I could just imagine him putting them on, like, deal with it.
Yes. Like, I don't want to deal with it, but, you know.
All right.
Okay.
So that's what flawed games we like.
I think that covers it effectively. I mean, if we find a new one, we can talk.
Actually, I do.
One.
I do
have another one.
Yeah, I do. Wet. You remember Wet?
Oh yeah, I remember.
It was that stylized third-person shooter by Artificial Mind and Movement, now known as Behavior Interactive.
That's a weird name, by the way.
Yeah, they changed it because obvious reasons that I can't say if we put this video on my channel.
So you are. I want to ask this. So you're a family-friendly Christian channel.
I mean, I'm not Christian. It's just that if my mom heard me saying stuff like that, I probably wouldn't be able to make videos anymore.
Okay. So
it's complicated right now, but mostly just like
no. I think this is okay. I mean, if we talk honestly about it, you know.
Yeah, all right.
But yeah, so Wet. I remember it. I actually haven't played it, so I know that it is kind of this grindhouse style kind of game.
It is.
You know, and so I think that from a visual style element, that sounds pretty appealing. But I hear it's kind of repetitive.
It's not good. It is not good at all.
Okay.
The graphics, I like the film grain. I kind of like when it goes all like red and black and cel shaded. I think that looks kind of neat. They play with the aesthetics a little bit, and I think it looks cool. It has a really good licensed soundtrack. The gunplay is fun in that kind of like discount Max Payne kind of way, and she has a sword, which is cool. But the thing is, it's just not really all that interesting at all. The main character's not really likable in any kind of way. The boss fights aren't even technically there. Like the final boss fight you have is just a series of quick time events. Like it becomes a freaking David Cage production at the end just because they couldn't program a boss fight. And what else was there? It is repetitive, and it's also just the level design in general is very confusing and really hard to tell where you're supposed to go next. And sometimes I would do the same thing over and over again because that's the only thing I know how to do, and it just won't work. Like there's this one occasion when I'm jumping through buildings and roofs, and I'm supposed to climb onto the side of a building. I'm supposed to jump across it from a window that I run up from. So I run up the place. I hit the point on the left to grab, and it just doesn't work. So I have to keep doing it over and over again until suddenly it just decides to work. And that's just like one example that I remember in particular being like, why does this keep happening? Just let me continue with the game. So the level design isn't very good. The characters are all unlikable. The gameplay is very repetitive. It's also broken because you can just continuously upgrade the pistols because they have unlimited ammo. So by the end, if you just upgrade the pistols, you can be like bam, 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 and just kill everyone because you can upgrade damage and accuracy and fire rate, and they don't run out of ammo. So you can just keep shooting that one, and that's it.
Well, they say you can never have enough Daka.
I don't know what that's a reference to.
One day.
Oh, Daka, like Daka.
Yeah, I'm explaining this reference one day, but not today. That would take like 6 hours, so I'm not willing to do that.
All right. But yeah, it's not a very well-designed game. It's very repetitive, and the only things I really like about it are the soundtrack. Like, I recommend looking up the soundtrack, if nothing else, because the music they had for it is actually pretty good. But despite all of that, I've played that game like 6 times, and I have no idea why.
I mean,
I just don't know why I keep playing it, but I've played it on hard mode. I've played it on the hardest mode. It takes like 4 or 5 hours for me to get through, and I have no idea why I keep playing it. It's just so okay.
that sounds kind of like Lollipop Chainsaw. I
actually love Lollipop Chainsaw.
I love it too, but it's also kind of a flawed game. It's one of these things. It's like it has a lot of good references that we, for obvious reasons, can't make. Okay, I think I can. One I can make. Where like killing zombies gives me total wood.
I don't remember what part that's from.
It's actually pretty early on.
I can't remember it.
Don't worry about it. It's okay. But
it's been a while since I've played it. By the way, in that game, you know how you can get all those like platinum zombie medals to get costumes for Juliet?
I don't know specifically if there is a trick for it. I have never looked it up.
If you kill like 3 zombies in a single chainsaw hit, you get a platinum medal. And then you can collect more. And then when you're at the shops on repeat playthroughs, you can buy her costumes. You can get her more casual clothes. You can get her in bikinis and skin-tight leather outfits, obviously. But you can also get her a cosplay.
Yeah, I remember that.
You can dress her up as 2 of the characters from High School of the Dead, because that makes sense. And you can also dress her up as Haruna, I think her name's Haruna, from Kore wa Zombie Desu ka, which also makes sense because, she's a chainsaw. Makes sense. And then you have Shiro from Dead Man Wonderland, which makes no sense, and I keep her in that costume whenever I play that game again. just because I
Interesting.
really like Shiro.
Now, interestingly enough, you left out one costume that you probably cannot actually sort into what it is from.
What's the
Because-
costume?
Because there is a costume from a character called Chifusa from a series called Manu Scroll. Don't Google that. This is a literal.
want
Don't
to.
Google that.
I don't want to. But that's a weird reference.
It's an excessively weird reference, and I don't recommend you watch it, even though I have watched it. It's not as bad as you think it is, but it's definitely not family friendly. And I don't want to embarrass
Well, neither
you.
is Lollipop Chainsaw, so.
That's Lollipop Chainsaw, a game that is juvenile but entertaining in that juvenile.
And a game that
sense.
knows its audience by the fact that if you try and look up Juliet's skirt, she will actually tuck down her skirt to try and hide it from you.
I mean, I have never tried looking at, under that skirt anyway, so
You get an achievement for it.
I think I got the achievement by accident and not actually wanting to, but you know.
It's just a hilarious little thing where it's like, yeah, Suda, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I see see you. I know what you did.
Yep.
You clever guy, you're awesome.
Wouldn't
Also,
surprise
James
me.
Gunn, you did a nice job.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, so it's just like, you have anything more to add to that?
I don't think so, at least at the moment. Again, this is one of these topics we can come back, in the future.
Yeah, sometime, like if we find more.
Yeah.
Let's see. The next, I guess we'll just move on to the next topic then.
Yeah.
Mangaka's living conditions. This is actually something that you brought to my attention on Twitter, and something that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, kind of.
So just to fill everyone in, if you don't exactly know how manga works, basically, a manga is made when an individual, artist or both, makes a series and submits a potential idea for a series to a publisher for serialization, usually in a weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly magazine like Weekly Shonen Jump, Weekly Shonen Magazine, Ribbon, Chow, Business Jump. Is Business Jump even still around?
I don't know, actually.
I'm going to look that up. Business Jump.
Sounds like mangas about accountants.
Oh no, it canceled circulation in 2011.
Well,
What
happens.
series were in it? Rikio was in it.
Okay.
That's something cool. Battle Angel Alita. That was also in
Okay.
Business Jump.
Why did they call it Business Jump? It's confusing.
One Ounce was also in there. The Summit of the Gods. Golden Boy 2.
Ooh.
Neat. They called it Business Jump because it was a seinen magazine aimed at, an older demographic, probably closer towards salarymen, rather than just like high schoolers.
I don't know.
It says right here, the magazine debuted in July 1985 as the first salaryman magazine to be published by Shueisha. So this is a tangent that is not important right now. But when an individual or two individuals who are working together submit a potential series to a magazine, they can get a serialization, which basically means they will make a new chapter of a certain length every week or 2 weeks or however often the magazine is published, until the series is either canceled or they just decide to end it. And it's a lot harder than it sounds.
It's far harder than it sounds. It's also not a very good living condition in general, because especially if you have to deal with it. Well, the first thing that you have to deal with is the fact that these publishers want to meet up with you and the editors on a consistent basis. So that means you have to live in one of the big cities, usually Tokyo. Now, Tokyo is one of the most expensive cities in the world, that thanks to some shenanigans with speculation has increasingly stupid rental prices that drive actually the city to grow out into the outskirts because they have to build more buildings because more in the intercity is like so expensive, and that has actually consistently caused Tokyo to grow. And we don't know what happens when Tokyo grows large enough to hit Osaka. We don't know what happens when this comes, but it will happen eventually. And that's very expensive. So you have to be paid exceptionally well. But ironically, mangakas are exceptionally low paid.
I think that's mostly because a lot of their payment will come in the form of royalties for publishing their books.
To a degree, but there is a limit. They say the average amount of money that a mangaka makes in a year is about 35,000 US dollars comparatively. And this has been consistent since the 80s. And while in the 80s this was probably a lot of money, nowadays it's not so much anymore, especially in that specific Tokyo metropolitan area.
Yeah, they need a raise.
They need a raise, very clearly.
Really
and the problem also comes from the fact that no expenses are covered by this. You know, like you might work in the city where the publisher is, but they don't pay for your apartment. They don't pay for your assistants that you have basically to share your pay with. And you have to deal with the exceedingly detrimental living conditions, depending on what you're working on. Like a monthly series might actually be halfway decent working conditions for you.
Yeah, I mean, depending on how many pages you need to complete in a month. I'm not entirely sure what the usual number of pages for something in, I guess, monthly Gangan is, or wait, is that weekly?
No, it's monthly Gangan. But
yeah, monthly Gangan.
It has to be monthly.
The one by Square Enix, the one that Soul Eater is published in. So I'm not sure what the page count in that is, but I feel like that would be easier to work on.
Yeah, it's definitely easier to work on, mostly because it's not as exponential. I mean, you have 4 weeks to deal with a chapter that is at best halfway longer than a normal weekly shonen magazine kind of thing.
So like generally around 30, let's just say 35 pages.
Yeah, around that frame. That is manageable in a month, I think, especially if you are trained and have enough assistance at hand. That is definitely something you can deal with. But the increasingly incredible working conditions that you have to deal with for weekly publication, that's just prolonged suicide, actually, because it's just, you can't make this. This needs a very exceptional kind of creator that needs basically either to have an incredibly successful series that makes so much money that they can live from the royalties that is far more than a regular manga series would be.
I.e. a hit artist.
Yeah, a hit artist like
in the sense of Eiichiro Oda sensei or Kishimoto Masashi sensei, the creator of Naruto.
They made a lot of they made a lot of money, mostly because they sold merchandise rights very effectively and made a lot of royalties from that. They can have a very decent living, but most mangaka will not have this. And working for a weekly magazine in that case is usually very sure that you're only working for a craft at that point. And the question is, how long can you live with that conditions until it drains you, until the demands of a publisher and the editors become too much? Because that's actually a problem. The editors have incredible amount of control over what you're doing. So if they say, like, we have seen this with Dragon Ball over the years, very specifically, where the editors actually kept interfering with the storylines and the actions, famously with the Cell Saga, where they basically complained about the villain every 5 minutes. And so Toriyama had to consistently change that. That's the reason why they migrate from one villain to another in a very short amount of time in the Cell Saga. And that's demanding, like to deal with that. And that was a monthly series. Now think how this is in a weekly series where you don't have that much time to react to these kind of changes.
For context, a weekly series tends to go for around 19 pages a week, give or take, usually around that level.
Yeah, but that's still impressive. I mean, 19 to 20 pages a week is
It's more
Very hard work.
impressive than like American comics in my mind, which are in full color and tend to have more detailed drawings, but like
Yeah, but
they are
they
very few
also
pages.
not
They're worked
only
on by
that.
multiple people.
Yeah, that's the biggest part. The writer and the artist are separate from each other, meaning that the writer can focus on, drafting out the story, and the artist can concentrate on that. The colorist is there, and you have the inkers.
Meanwhile with manga, you usually have one person who does all the character art and maybe some like most of the artwork, like the main thing people tend to focus on. And then you have assistants who do stuff like effects and sound effects and backgrounds and shading and all that. So they do help a lot, but again, they are still paid by the mangaka's salary. So it's generally all worked on by the same person, but for the most part, the artist is the one who does like the majority of the work, and the assistants just generally, they help out to finalize and fill in backgrounds and stuff like that. And sometimes, there are occasions where really successful, I guess, teams work out, like Obata Takashi and Oba Tsugumi, the creators of Death Note. All You Need Is
Mhm.
Kill. No, wait, they didn't make All You Need Is Kill.
No, no. All
They
you
didn't
need
make
is
All You Need Is
no,
Kill.
no.
That
That's
was
something else. That's
that
also a
was something
novel.
else.
It's also a light novel, by the way, not a manga.
And also, yeah, I know, I got mixed
Yeah.
up there. But they also made Bakuman, which is
Yeah.
one of my personal favorite series of all time. And the current one they're working on is Platinum End. I don't think that's weekly. I think that's a monthly series. It might be an Ultra Jump. Is Ultra Jump a thing? I don't remember.
know.
But they're working on that. They're working
Yeah.
on that right now. And they're a successful team. But I feel like that might be easier to do because Oba just, he writes the stories, and Obata has a very detailed art style, but he's had many years to basically perfect it, and
But
he's
they
still
also
improving.
They also have to deal with the fact that their salary is also singular. They still treat it like a one artist. They don't get
like
more pay
they're half.
out of it. But
Just
luckily
like in
they
Bakuman.
Yeah, and that's kind of a problem with that, because yes, it gives you more opportunities for creative freedom and a little bit more stamina to hold through that, but eventually there will be some economic problems with that come up. You have to pay for your life, and if your life gets more expensive and they don't actually raise your money, and you don't actually have to deal with it in some ways to deal with that, you will have massive problems with that.
There's
very
actually
quickly.
this in Bakuman. There's this one character called Hiramaru Kazuya. He's a fairly popular mangaka in the series because like they have the series within the series because it's just like it's a manga about making manga for Weekly Shonen Jump. And his whole thing is that he doesn't actually want to work on manga. He just did it because he thought it would be a good idea, and now he hates it because he has a weekly series. So his editor, Yoshida, keeps tricking him into buying expensive things so that he would have to work harder and sell more copies in order to make up and actually pay for the stuff he keeps tricking him into buying.
That's amazingly cruel.
It's also hilarious.
Yes, but it's also fucking
one
cruel.
volume where he drives up in a sports car to like the main trio.
Oh god.
And he explains that like Yoshida said that since my volumes are selling so well, I should treat myself, so I got this sports car. And the guys are just like, dude, that's such an old trick. Now you're gonna have to work even harder to pay more money.
Oh my god, it's like, oh, you just bought a car that is at least twice your yearly salary. Oh no.
It's so hilarious though. And that's like he's just the punchline. Cause like he's successful. In this series, he made a series about a person with the head of an otter who can turn his fists into rocks and beats the crap out of villains.
I mean,
And
that sounds amazing.
Otter number 11. He called it Otter number 11. And eventually that ended because it was successful. It was actually a pretty successful series that continued for several, actual volumes of the series until one day it's just like the popularity started waning and he just had to end it. And that's another thing we're going to get to as soon as I'm done talking about this because I just think it's funny. The series he made after that was supposed to be like a romantic comedy, And it's just that went over fine. I'm not gonna get into that, but that was like the main thing he was known for. That was his joke. Like his editor kept tricking him into doing things that he wanted to do, but it was just like a roundabout way to get him to draw because he kept wanting to take breaks. It's hilarious. If you haven't read Bakuman, go read Bakuman. And there's actually a character in the series who's basically like the embodiment of the kind of mentality that you kind of need in order to be a mangaka. And his name is Nizuma Eiji, and he's basically like the rival to the main characters. Yeah, the main characters, the main guys are two people.
Yeah.
One's a writer, one's an artist, and they're called Psycho and Shujin. And Nizuma is basically like a complete freak. Like he always wears sweatpants. He just always wears a sweatsuit, and he's just like super energetic, and he makes sound effects while drawing. And he is so fast. He actually had 2 series running at one point.
Oh,
in a weekly magazine. He had to draw 19 pages a week for 2 series. It's 38 pages, and he still had free time to draw more. Like in one thing, he actually just took out a whole bunch of stacks of paper, just like a massive amount that basically just filled out a rug of just like piles and piles of manga that he drew in his free time. And they actually comment that that's kind of ridiculous because most artists don't have enough time to deal with 1 series, but he has 2, and he was still making more manga. He made essentially a 30-volume series about something called the Space Cockroach. I don't even know what that is, but he did it. And I know he's fictional, but that's basically like, that's the kind of person you kind of have to be when you draw manga, at least when it comes to a weekly series.
And that's basically Enshiro Oda. That's basically Enshiro Oda. He's the only one who can, as of now, kind of work with this whole system. He's the only one that we know who's capable of doing that. And I'm not sure how he does it. I'm not sure.
Awesome.
Either he is awesome or he is very odd. That's the only explanation. It's like
Nizuma's odd, and he's pretty awesome. Seriously, go read Bakuman. It's great.
But the problem is that normal people or even decent artists aren't actually made for this job, and we see this especially with a mangaka who work for Shonen Jump, who have massive problems in the long run. I mean, there's a reason Masaki Kishimoto has only made 1 series for Jump in the long run and is now basically retired at this point.
Actually, he started a new one.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, he's the writer. So I'm not sure if that counts entirely, but he is the writer. It's called Samurai 8. I haven't read it. I kind of don't want to because I don't like Naruto, but like,
yeah,
I feel like the only reason he's able to do that is because Naruto is freaking Naruto, and he can just, it's Naruto. He's going to make money off of it anyway.
That's true, but the problem with Naruto was also that he consistently, I read Naruto for a very long time, and in the Omex he often complained about the workload and how he had to basically design shortcuts on many occasions. And he always said that he's not really a very good artist, especially female character. He had massive problems with drawing.
His art style was kind of simplistic.
Yeah, he at the start of the manga, Naruto has this goggles he has, and in the Omake, Kishimoto explains that he had to get rid of the goggles because he had made them too complicated to draw, and he only realized this later. So he invented the ninja headband just for that. Now, the good part about this is that I think he made a very good decision, actually, because with the more simplistic style came also a more symbolic use of it, and he built that relatively good into the series, I think.
It's a thing you kind of have to work with, and it's kind of ironic how things originally made to save time have become so iconic. You know, the ninja headband, Super Saiyan. It's just interesting how that works sometimes.
I mean, sometimes this is a really good thing, but it also comes sometimes at a cost, you know, like then you have to sacrifice your artistic vision just because you know you can't make it. And That always kind of bugs me sometimes.
That really bugs me, especially since I personally really want to be a manga artist because I'd have to learn Japanese first and actually learn how to draw. I'm working on that. I really need to work on that more often. But the thing is, I want to do that because I know why people become mangaka, even if they probably know what kind of life that entails. Like they even explain it in Bakuman. Like you're gonna have to work a lot. You're gonna have to you're gonna have to do so much stuff in a singular week. You're probably not gonna be able to do it. And then there's stuff like color pages, and you're gonna have to design cover art for the volumes, and you're gonna have to calculate so much stuff and figure out how to do so many things in a single week. And you're gonna have to do that week on week on week on week, over and over and over and over and over again, trying to make sure that you remain popular enough in reader polls that you don't get canceled and lose the series, which means you won't get paid and you lose your job. So you have to you don't even, it's not just that you have to do it all in a single week and do it consistently. You have to do it well and do it consistently, and it's really hard to do that.
I mean, we see the results of that when we look at that Hunter x Hunter and Togashi, because that poor guy only can make this series so great because he takes consistent breaks. That's the only reason why his work
He just
is so
did it because
good.
he was sick.
Yeah, and he does do it because he's sick. That's the importance. This is the only way how he can get away from it. This is, and it made him sick. He's not the only one who had to work through massive sickness over the years to just get the series done. We saw this with Tide Kubo, who basically also had to deal with massive health issues for a lot of the time of his Bleach run.
And he had a complete mental breakdown, which was one of the main reasons why Zombie Powder was canceled at 4 volumes.
And that's basically the problem. This is a model that is very bad for health, physical and mentally. It erodes you, it erodes your work, and I'm not sure if I want that people do that. There's a reason I actually like Doshins more than other things, because the artist has far more control.
And it's probably because they can literally show tits.
That's also a good part, but that's not really the important. I have seen also some non-erotic ones. And I think, and I want to say this to you, Hoodley. Please don't become a manga artist for one of the bigger publishers. Just do Doshins. Just do Doshins, please.
Then that would kind of be a problem for me because, I would want more people to I don't know. It's just like I want to because I understand, like I said, I understand why people want to do it. But the thing is, the reason people want to become mangaka is because they want to tell stories and they want to draw pictures because that's what they enjoy doing. And even if they have to do that week after week after week on a really tight schedule that they're not sure they can keep up with, they do it because, they are artists. They are people who do this for the love of the craft, even when it's really hard and they don't think that it could possibly get any worse in their position, but they keep doing it because they're artists and that's what they love to do. I remember seeing a video about a French animator who worked at a Japanese anime studio, and he basically said it was exhausting work and he was paid very little, but the reason he kept doing it is because he got to draw so much and he loved doing that so much that it was all worth it in the end. So I can kind of understand why. I remember reading there was this library that I used to go to when I was little, and I found a book. I found my first how to draw manga book. It was actually by actual mangaka, not some stupid Americanized faker like Mark Crilly or someone like that. And it was a quote by the mangaka of Fishing Mad Sanpei. I've never read the series, but I like what he said. He basically said that it is very hard work to keep a series, and there are times where he had to skip meals, he had to skip showers, and the only time he would get up from his desk were for the very occasional quick meal or to go to the bathroom. And there were days that he couldn't even just take a shower or something like that, but he kept doing it because that's just what he did. That's just what he liked to do. So I can understand why people still want to become mangaka because I still really want to be a mangaka. I'm not sure if I'd do a weekly series, I'd probably go to someone like, I don't know, Margaret, because that's like bi-weekly. That could be fine. But it's just one of those things where you do it mostly because you know the risks involved, and if you still have the drive to do it, then you're probably able to do it, even if it's hard, because it's just the kind of person mangakas tend to be, if that makes any sense.
It makes sense, but for me, this is a little bit different because I see you as a person, and I think that yes, you want to do that, but becoming a mainstream mangaka is usually something that people not do because they just want to do this. It's often because they want to be popular at the same time. Like they want to have not just a series, they want to have a popular series,
And they want to have
and
an anime, and they maybe
yeah,
want to
yeah,
have a
something like
video
that.
game.
But here's the problem with that. I think you can be popular and beloved even if you're not like that. I mean, I see a lot of artists out there who interact, who are successful, who are well liked and get official work done. And I for me there is this massive economic and physical threat that I just don't want to take, and I don't want to subject anybody to that. So I'm saying this because I like you, because you're my friend. I want that you consider this. But if you are still willing to do this, I'm not going to say no. I just think that it's a risk that you have to be careful to take, and there's a good reason why most mangakas start very young, and I think you're technically already too old for doing that, because let's be real, the moment you have learned Japanese effectively to do that is a bit more in the future, and you will probably reach about already towards 30 when you are actually done there, and that's if they actually give you a chance. And
No, I
that's
mean,
not
it's a
so clear.
dream.
It's a dream.
I'm still gonna
It's a
work at
dream.
it. But if it doesn't work out, then whatever. I can still make manga.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't
nobody's
need to
stopping
be
you from doing.
published.
I
I'm
mean,
just saying that if I was published and I was like, I could actually work for a publisher like, I don't know, Margaret or something like that.
I mean,
then
you
that'd
can
be
also be.
cool. If not, then oh well.
You can also be published in the West. We had this year in Germany where an artist wanted to draw manga, got into contact with a major manga publisher in Germany, and just made his own series that was also published in the German version of Shonen Jump for a while.
That's neat.
And I think that also works. I mean, I think that's a possibility, and I think that's a better possibility with better working conditions. But you have to make this decision on your own and see how it goes. I'm not saying no. I just say consider the issues and possibilities with it. I need to be like my grandfather was to me. I need to be the realist, telling you how this world is and how it maybe chews you and just spits you out whenever it feels like it. And
Oh, I'm well aware of that.
I know, but I just want to say this.
All right. But yeah, that's kind of just what mangaka have to do every week. They have to make something. They have to work hard at making a popular series over and over and over and over and over again, and hope that they don't get canceled or something like that, and they don't lose their jobs. And if they do, and they didn't make something like Naruto, which ran for over 20 years, why? And they can just still make money off that. They just have to keep making stuff. And I can see why people put up with it, because their work is reaching a large audience, and that is something that I can understand wanting to do. But I do understand that they don't have. That's probably not a very good thing, and I fully understand that. But if people still want to do it, then they can keep trying. I wish they would pay them a little bit better.
It's a cutthroat business.
That'd probably be helpful.
It's a very cutthroat business, and you need to be on top of the game. And I think that's basically what's kind of my personal problem with it, because it's often not just for the art, it's just for keeping something popular running so it sells a magazine. And that's just, I don't know, that feels kind of a problem, especially since Shonen Jump often says, like, just if they don't have any ideas, they just go and revert back to the Dragon Ball formula, and that can sometimes ruin series completely.
Yeah, I can see why, because it's basically just, oh no, the superpowered villain, we have to beat them, they kill their friends. It's just like, oh, we train montage, we win, big battle, then an even stronger guy shows up. And it's just like, can a weaker guy show up? Please.
It's one of these problems that you have if you decide to go for vertical power scaling instead of horizontal power scaling.
Is that like where everyone's the same but like in different ways?
It's like the difference between JoJo and Dragon Ball. In Dragon Ball, everybody gets stronger and needs to have a stronger villain who threatens more and more. And in JoJo, you have characters who are basically on a same level, but the abilities are weird and so different that you don't actually can make like a tier system. You know, it's not like Super Saiyan's on top and everybody's below that. You have
the sun is a pretty lame stand,
but it is a useful stand under certain circumstances because there is no such thing as the weakest possible thing. It means you have to be creative with your powers and abilities.
Like Nen.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing you crunch. It's not good.
Yep.
That's our conclusion for this segment, I guess.
It's like
Mangaka, take a break. Maybe ask your publishers to get paid a little bit better because you work hard. You deserve a break. You deserve some more money.
It would also be better if they would, and this is actually a fair bit of an improvement that they could do, because we saw that sometimes with Shonen Jump where they had 1 year where they threw out like nearly 80% of the newcomers in 1 year because they weren't popular enough, and that's kind of a problem because a lot of people don't know what to do then. And I think that it would be better for Shonen Jump to have at least contracts that go for a full year, so that the mangaka can actually develop a series and look how it works. And
I feel like that would also be kind of problematic because,
I mean, sometimes yes.
If you do have contracts for going for like a year, like a full year, it also means that you can't have as many new series. So maybe like 6 months, maybe till their first volume is published.
See, I always thought like if you really want to do the full rating for business thing, I think it would be actually better if Shonen Jump had like 2 magazines that internally compete with each other. Like you have the rating system, and you're like the top series get published in the first magazine, and the lower half gets published in the other magazine, and you can also have like new series coming in and see how it works and just rearrange it so the popular magazine has all popular stuff. And so that would solve this, and it would not cost so much more because if it doesn't work, you can just put them on a list and just say 6 months and you're gone. But that's just how I think it is. If you really want to go with that popularity contest element, I think you can do way better if you give the people a little bit more input. And it also kind of helps if you have like a voting system there where people can jump in and know specifically what's going to happen, because the fans realize, that's a good story, but the artwork isn't so great, and we can know what to invest in, like voting argument, like better voting campaigns, like
during contests. And when the judges like rate certain one-shots depending on like characters and paneling and all that.
Yeah, something like that. It should be more clear.
I feel like that's a lot to put on the shoulders of a reader, because if they're just like casually reading and they're like, send this postcard in, it seems like a lot more effort.
I think it would be
just too much to put on the reader.
A bit more transparency on the rules would just help out. Just telling what is necessary, how far are they, and what series is threatened to be canceled and needs to be improved. And maybe the writers can learn something or show support. The Japanese people are very, very interested in playing the team game and being cheerleaders. They love that shit. So I think it would be actually a good idea to just, have a little bit more clearer rules, make that a little bit more understandable, and have a little bit more consistent contracts to work upon, just a little bit more consistency and clearness of. So that would alone improve massively the quality of the work for manga.
There was actually a conversation kind of like this in Bakuman when the main character Psycho went to be an assistant for Nizuma for a while, and there was this other guy named Fukuda who was trying to become a mangaka, and he did eventually. He got a fairly popular series, and he made a more popular series after that. And he basically said that he told the editor, he basically just pointed out that the popular series, the ones that get really high rates in the reader surveys, are always at the front, and the ones that aren't are more toward the back. And because of that, it creates this kind of unconscious comparison thing for the reader, where it's like the first ones will always seem better because they're at the front. Meanwhile, if this one's in the back, it must not be that good. So he suggested just randomizing the order every week so that, you could probably still have a really popular one on the cover and you can have him be first in the magazine. That's fine. But other than that, you should, just randomize it. You should just randomize it and you'll probably see different results.
Yeah.
So that was a neat idea he had. And I think that's about as much as we can talk about for this right now. We might come back to this again.
Yeah, it's one of these complicated topics where there might be not a good answer, but it's still interesting to discuss it and, give a little bit of education on the topic, because I think a lot of people don't actually know this. You need to be involved with that specific process.
We got lots of stuff to talk about when it comes to the world of manga. But we've also got lots of stuff to talk about when it comes to anime, because we should probably be moving on because we've been talking for a while.
Okay.
All right, the last topic we had to talk about probably shouldn't take that long. Anime we like about things we normally don't like, as in stuff that cover stuff about certain things where the things they focus on aren't really something we generally are interested in. But you watch it anyway because it's actually pretty good. You want to go first?
If you want, okay. The best example that I have me back into anime, kind of, I was fairly disillusioned for a while with it after some.
I think your microphone's kind of blinking in and out.
Really? Can you hear me?
I think. It's just like, in certain parts, it's just like, boop, and it's just stopping for a couple seconds.
Okay, I don't know. Tell me if it happens again.
All right.
I'll just go closer. Yeah, so the best example that I had was this anime that kind of got me back a while ago, because I was kind of disillusioned. It just didn't seem to work out for me with anime for a while, and I was just laying in my bed and just said, like, yeah, let's look this app up, and I found out, hey, there's Crunchyroll on my PS Vita, and I'm like, why not? Picked out a series and randomly got something really interesting. It was a show called Orono Twin-Tail Death.
Oh, I know that.
And this was an interesting series because it's basically a love letter to the things we love. It's kind of odd. It's more comedic in style, and it tries to do some crazy gender bender stuff. But in general, it's basically about the focus elements on specific little sub things. Some people would call it the fetishization, but I think it's more focusing on weird little personal preferences. And the series is full about that. And that's just wonderful, because it's like, it makes clear that there is something that you can make a story about basically everything if you want to, if you have a passion, if you know how to discuss it.
I think you should probably give the basic premise for those listening who don't know what it is.
Okay. So the show is basically, it's a bit complicated. So it basically works like this. So you have this dude who goes to high school for the first time, and he has a fixation with a twin tail hairstyle, like
pigtails.
Pigtails, basically. He loves that shit. That's his thing. And suddenly, one day, a woman approaches him and says, like, we need to harness your love for the twin tails because the world is in danger. Because suddenly an interdimensional alien species, the ultimate goal, come into the world and try to steal love aspect energy, mostly from that specific twin tail aspect. They think it's the most powerful aspect in the universe, and absorbing the energy makes them more powerful. And so they come to harness the energy of this planet, because that's what they did with other places. And now our hero is tasked to defeat them by using a device that harnesses the power of a twin tail aspect. and turns him into a redhead girl with a sword in a magical girl fashion. It is amazing.
I mean, I was just kind of thinking you'd say like the main guy has to turn into a girl with twin tails and fight off aliens with a powerful magic sword.
I mean, yes, that's too, but I think
You could have just said that. I didn't think you'd go.
I just wanted to go a little bit more into details, you know?
Yeah, that's fair.
Because most of the characters in the show, especially the enemies, the ultimate goal, are actually very, very, I would say, sympathetic to a degree from the perspective of otaku culture, because they're just specialized. They have preferences, and they are lovable. They're not actually threatening villains who want to destroy the world. They're just here because they have a specific kind of
thing.
Yeah, they have a thing for some specific kind of things, and some of these things might be a little bit more odd, but it's also kind of lovable. It's like
It is a very funny show. I recommend it.
is.
So
And,
wait, what's the thing about it that you wouldn't normally be interested in? Like,
see,
what's the subject matter? Is it like just like magical girls?
No, it's basically. I had seen the synopsis of the series, and I was like, "That's nothing. How could you make a show about that?" But it's not the case. It had something special in it, something what you would normally not actually expect in a show like this. You know, usually you expect, some titties, nudity, and people talking about weird fetishes, but it has something more deeper to say, something more interesting, and I felt like there was something special about this that you don't
love
get
to make fun of itself.
Yes, it's something that I think a lot of other shows don't want to do. They don't want to take themselves like they want to take themselves too seriously. We saw this with shows like Sword Art Online. Actually, that's a good example. They took themselves way too serious, so serious in fact they needed an Omake series on the DVDs to make fun of a show, just to balance this out.
That show is terrible. I'm not even sorry.
It's okay.
A bad show.
Actually, the Omake series is actually kind of funny. I think that's funny.
I mean, I would expect so, because there's a lot to make fun of in the series. But it's just like, this guy is really good at playing video games, so he's gonna save the world.
Hey, that's the plot of Ready Player One.
And also Dot Hack.
Yeah, but to a lesser degree, I think Dot Hack builds a better world.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but yeah.
And Log Horizon was just bad. Watch Log Horizon.
It's a long show. It's a long show. I'm going to take it. If you like the
concept, to people watching this, if you like the concept of Sword Art Online, but realized it was completely terrible, go watch Log Horizon. And if you actually enjoyed Sword Art Online, go watch Log Horizon and realize how wrong you are.
It's a therapeutic experience.
It's a very good show.
But yeah,
Sword Art Online, Log Horizon. Log Horizon's the good show.
But I like searching for these little nuggets in shows that you don't expect. That's the reason why I actually started looking at other shows that people recommended and looked for it and searched for different kind of core specific elements that make it special that nobody wants to talk about, because this is something that anime has a little bit of a problem with. It's technically a pulp genre, so to speak. It's often very low cost, very low on standards. You can basically do anything. There are no limits, and that allows you basically to talk about everything. And
like
you can
in Trigun.
Like in Trigun, for example.
Where a walking plant man with a gun defends a Wild West planet with a priest whose cross is also a gun. And a bazooka that holds smaller guns.
It sounds incredibly stupid, but when you actually watch it, it's just amazing.
It's so good, dude.
It's such a powerful message.
And did you know that the gun in Trigun is actually an Enter the Gungeon?
Yes.
It's awesome. You get the arm cannon. You get the angel arm. Watch Trigun.
Yeah, that's great. And this is what I'm searching for. So whenever people say to me, thing I wouldn't necessarily be into, maybe just give it a chance. I think there are a lot of shows like that you just have to just go in and watch, you know, like I did watch the first episode of Danmachi just because somebody said, "Yeah, just get it for the server," and I'm like, "Okay." I watched it. I was like, "That's actually not bad. That's actually pretty good."
I haven't seen
That main
Danmachi.
character is actually pretty likable.
I haven't seen Danmachi. I kind of want to, but
I
I
recommend
haven't gotten
it.
around to it yet.
I recommend it.
A lot of the anime series that I watch about stuff I don't like is basically just sports manga
Okay.
and anime. Just like when I was little, I used to watch The Prince of Tennis.
Oh boy.
I still love The Prince of Tennis. It's really good. It gets really stupid at times, where it's like this guy's drop shot is embodied by a meteor shower.
I mean, that's basically
stupid.
that's what I expect from a sports anime. Actually,
I know. And then you get into stuff like there was a really short-lived manga called Cross Manage, which was basically lacrosse with some fan service. And that was it. It lasted for like I think 25 chapters or something. It didn't last very long, unfortunately. But most of if there is a sports anime, odds are I'm gonna like that, even though I don't like sports. So like I like The Prince of Tennis. I kind of like Slam Dunk. I haven't actually seen that much of it, but I like it. I like Hajime no Ippo. I like Haikyuu. Kuroko no Basket is pretty good from what I've seen so far. I really want to check out How to Kana Receive, and not just because it is about beach volleyball, which gives them a perfect excuse to actually have some decent quality beach episodes.
I mean, that's pretty good.
And yeah, I've heard it's actually really good. So I still want to check it out.
I actually want to have a hypothetical anime that a YouTuber once created for an argument about curling.
That I'm gonna look up if that even exists.
I'm pretty sure it does not, but it would be amazing.
About curling.
Any results?
Let's see. There is a link right here. Believe it or not, there was a curling manga. There's a manga about it. Back in the year 2004, year of the Athens Summer Olympic Games, writer Bohemian K and artist Toshinori Sogabe launched a manga about bowling meets ice sweeping Winter Olympic sports curiosity, curling. The series, Orange Delivery, ran in Jive's monthly comic Rush, home of the manga version of Clannad and Casshern Sins, and ran for 4 volumes.
Okay, now we have something we can read for the next episode if we get that.
I wish I could link the. Oh, apparently it probably involves fan service in some way. The second volume has the girl in very small shorts, and I'm assuming either a bra or a bikini top.
What for curling is maybe not the best sports equipment.
They probably have, they're probably going on break. Wait, the tradition of girls' winter sports manga actually continues to this day. Haruka Ono's 2012 Shonen Sunday series, Prince of Ice Hockey, has a women's hockey spin-off in newly launched Hyokyu Hime Tokiwagi Kantoku no Kajo na Aijo. So there is a manga about women's ice hockey, and there is a manga about curling. I wonder if there's even... So yeah, there is a manga about curling. I'm going to see if we can actually read it real quickly. Orange.
I mean,
Delivery.
We're not going to read it now. This is homework for next time.
I know, but I just want to see if we can actually read it.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I can find it, so don't worry.
Oh, I found something on Mangaka a lot.
Okay, so we
I'm not sure if it's the whole
that.
series. It just looks like. No, it just has the first 3 chapters, so I guess we'll look for it.
We look for it.
Yeah, we'll look for it, and we'll talk about it sometime because of freaking curling manga. What the heck?
So that we can finally fulfill the dream of hyper anime. That's the guy.
But yeah, that's the thing. It's just like It's like in a lot of sports anime. I know nothing about most sports, but I've watched iShield 21 and I'm like, okay, yeah, that was pretty cool. And I don't even like football. In fact, I kind of hate football, but it's just American football, just to clarify for those who actually, know what football actually is. We call it soccer here because we're stupid. But yeah, I watched iShield 21. I watched Prince of Tennis. I watched Haikyuu. I freaking love Haikyuu. It's just sports. I feel like it's more of like a reason for character drama rather than just to watch the sport itself. I guess that's why I like it, but that's just generally what I like. I like anime about sports despite not liking sports, and if you can find me a sports anime, I'll probably like it. Even though, as long as it's good. I don't know why.
That was a very fan service heavy anime about basketball in space where everybody had large boobs because they lived in zero gravity.
I feel like that was what was the one with Bigfoot in its name?
What?
No,
Bigfoot?
I remember reading about an anime that was space basketball using giant mech suits, and I can't remember what it was called. I think it was from 2004.
Okay. I think we're entering a weird space right now.
I mean, I seriously just nonchalantly said space basketball using giant mechs, and anime is weird. That's the takeaway here.
Yeah, but that's the magic of anime.
I need to look that up. Aquash.
Oh, okay.
That's what it was called. I don't know why I thought.
Okay.
I don't know why. Basquash. That's what it's called. Exclamation point. Actually,
of course.
I can't remember why I thought it was called Bigfoot. Oh, here's why. The giant mechs playing basketball is called Bigfoot Basketball, where players ride mecha called Bigfoot and play basketball in a giant arena. That's where I got that.
Okay.
So that's the explanation. Basquash.
Okay.
That's it. It's just I don't know how I got to this point, but there you go. Basquash is an anime about giant mech space basketball. Because why not? You can find manga about anything, and I guess that's kind of the thing. If it's good, people will like it. And even if it's not something that they're very interested in, it might get them interested in. Heck, the only reason I like tennis and like playing tennis is because when I was little, I watched The Prince of Tennis, and I really liked it. And the reason I play Go now is because I really like Hikaru no Go.
Understandable.
So I guess that was the point of this section, talking about things that we aren't really interested in that somehow becomes interesting when it becomes an anime. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess that is all we were going to do. You have anything else to add? I know my part was rambling here, but
yeah, I don't think we have anything to add here.
Alrighty then.
Good.
I guess that'll be it for this first pilot episode of the Digital Juice Bar podcast.
Right.
So if anyone is still listening or just skip to the end, if you have any questions for us or just comments or just whatever, you can tweet at us. I'll leave the links in the description below, or you can leave the comments down, or you leave it in the comments down below, and we'll probably read them next time.
In future, we probably will have an email address linking to that, so that you can directly send messages, so that we don't miss them. Like a tweet or a comment can be missed, an email can't be.
Yeah,
we're setting something up for that next time with a cool name.
Yeah,
I think we're going for digitaljuicebar@gmail.com. So you can try if there is anything yet. If not, well. Sucks to be the owner of that email address now.
I'd be surprised if anyone actually did, because I looked it up. No one's using this name.
Well, now we do.
So yeah, that was the first episode. Thank you to everyone who tonight or today or this afternoon, whatever it is where you're doing. I don't know what I'm saying. Thanks for listening.
Hope you had fun. We see you around next time.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye. So now I'm getting to let this leave. Craig, leave!